So, Jean-Paul Sartre was born in 1905. He was a teacher, a novelist, a playwright, and one of the central figures in existentialist philosophy. He studied German philosophy, especially Heidegger, as a prisoner of war, having been captured while serving with the French army in World War II. Together with his partner, Simone de Beauvoir, his fellow existentialist, he founded and helped run a political journal, Le Temps Moderne. Like Bertrand Russell, he was politically active and was deeply sympathetic to, though not a member of, the Communist Party. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature, but he turned it down as a bourgeois honor with which he did not want to be associated. So what is meant by the term existentialism? What is existentialism? Sartre begins his essay by saying that what all existentialists have in common is that they think existence must precede essence, or, if you prefer, subjectivity must be the starting point. Sartre wants to draw a contrast between the realms of things, such as artifacts or natural objects, and the realm of human beings. The former he calls being in itself, the latter being for itself. This ontology is the theme of his major work, Being and Nothingness. What is distinctive about things is that their essence precedes their existence. What is distinctive about human beings, on the other hand, is that our existence precedes our essence. Essence and existence for things. For artifacts and natural objects, their essence precedes, and thereby governs, their existence. Sartre thinks of an essence as something like a blueprint, which specifies what the thing must be and how it must be produced. Artifacts. The essence of a paper knife, for example, is a concept in the mind of the artisan that, 1, specifies a particular function, the ability to cut paper, and 2, it determines causally the production of the paper cutter, 3 being that it specifies the norms about what counts as a good paper cutter. So 1 is the concept, 2 is the function, and 3 is the norms. Natural objects. Something similar applies to natural objects, except here the blueprint need not be a concept in anyone's mind. An acorn contains, somehow, the essence of the oak tree. Just as the paper cutter, it 1 specifies the functions necessary for making an oak tree, 2 determines causally the development of the oak tree, given adequate rain and water, and 3, it specifies the norms appropriate for oak trees. Essence and existence for human beings, on the other hand. For human beings, by contrast, there is no blueprint, no essence. Sartre takes this to be a consequence of the denial of God, who might have had a plan for human creatures. So there might have been an ideal man like Adam, right? And if you take away the existence of God and you take away this ideal of a man, or maybe the ideal of God himself as a man, then you remove the blueprint, right? There's no blueprint. Sartre writes, if God does not exist, there is at least one being in whom existence precedes essence, a being who exists before he can be defined by any concept, and this being is man. Man exists, turns up, appears on the scene, and only afterwards defines himself. Only afterward he will be something, and he himself will have made what he will be. To say we arrive in the world without a preordained essence implies that we arrive without any blueprint, that 1 specifies the functions we are to fulfill, 2 causally determines our behavior so that we have to act in a certain way, or 3 supplies norms which tell us about what counts as human beings, right? So we're back to 1, the functions, 2, the causal determination, so we have to do something, right? And 3, the normalities, the norms. So let's talk a little bit about freedom. This lack of an essence is precisely what constitutes human freedom. We are, as Sartre puts it, condemned to be free. Condemned because we didn't ask to come into existence, but free because, once thrown into the world, we are responsible for what we do. With no essence or blueprint to help us, we must invent ourselves, create ourselves through our actions. Anguish. The awareness of this absence of essence, this freedom, this nothingness, right, is terrifying. Sartre compares it to a sense of vertigo, right? It's terrifying. But anguish is the only honest response to our freedom, Sartre suggests. An example, Sartre's student who needed to decide between staying at home and looking after his mother, or joining the Free French Forces. How could he choose, right? Sartre argues that even if there were a priori rules, as Kant thought, they would be too imprecise to specify a particular course of action, whether to stay at home or whether to go with the forces, right? Sartre says to the boy that he is free, and he must invent. Responsibility. Choosing to act is choosing what sort of human being to be. I literally create myself through my own actions. In making choices, I am deciding what has value. My choice confers value on the things that I choose. Deciding something is worth doing for you is deciding it is worth doing, right? It has value. This, or so Sartre claims, involves a commitment to its being not just good for you, but good kind of simplicity, right? Nothing can be good for us without being good for all. That has a little bit of kind of Kant in it, right? The role of God. Sartre premises his version of existentialism on the absence of God, but why? Plato argued in Erythro that the existence of gods would make no difference to moral norms. He raised the question, is the good good because the gods love it? You remember this awful back and forth? Or do they love the good because it is good? If we take the first option, then goodness seems arbitrary. What if the gods love something else, like lying? If we take the second option, then goodness is independent of the gods. It is good whether the gods love it or not. Sartre cites some of the Christian existentialists who face exactly the same anguish of choice. He cites Kierkegaard on the story of Abraham. Sartre. An angel has ordered Abraham to sacrifice his son. He's citing Kierkegaard. If it really were an angel who has come and said, "You are Abraham, you shall sacrifice your son," everything would be all right. But everyone might first wonder, is it really an angel? And am I really Abraham? What proof do I have? Sartre's point seems to be that freedom comes in even in the choice of whether to take something as authority. Freedom comes in even in our beliefs.